Hi, I'm Jennet Ingle, the 5-Minute Reedmaker. If you're watching this on YouTube, would you go ahead and click subscribe for me? And that way you will always know when I drop a new episode, and it'll make it easier for other people to find my channel and become better Reedmakers and happier musicians. Thank you. So I realized recently, to my chagrin, that there is not actually a video on my channel called The Day 1 Scrape or The Day 2 Scrape. I talk about these things all the time, and I think that I have in fact demonstrated all of these skills at various times, but I believe that it is time now to actually break down my batch processing process. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my day 1 scrape, and really I'm going to talk about why I batch process reads. As you begin to scrape on a piece of cane, as you begin to turn a reed into a reed, it wants to revert to being a piece of a plant. It wants to turn into something that is round. It wants to turn into something that is springy and boingy and open. And the purpose of batch processing, of slowing down and just bringing things along one element at a time, is that it gives the cane a chance to adapt to what you want it to be, which is a reed. And it gives you the possibility, the capability of just kind of hustling a bunch of reeds through at a time. So the magic of my batch processing system, in my opinion, is the fact that there are clear-cut places that I stop working on a reed. Instead of getting myself sucked in, instead of diving fully in with this one reed and focusing on it to the detriment of all other things until it either works or doesn't work. Instead, I just have some metrics, some specs that I'm going for, and when I get to those specs, I can stop. And I have a day 1, a day 2, a day 3 system that I use for this, and I will go ahead and go through day 1 today. On day 1, I start with a blank that is fully barked, fully closed, and that I probably wound yesterday or a week ago. I don't really care how long the reed sits in this sort of day 0 position after having been wound, but I don't necessarily want to go directly from winding into trying to make a reed. My whole system, for me, is designed to have a reed that is overall pretty closed when it is finished. And if that's not what you want, of course you will modify my day 1, day 2, day 3 system to match what you actually need your reeds to be. I sometimes forget to say it. I often forget to say it on this channel. But the way I make reeds is only one way of making reeds. You don't have to make reeds exactly like this. But for those people who are curious about my own system and my batch processing, here is day 1. Day 1 is designed to turn this reed into a reed-shaped object that beeps and crows. And that is all. So you see me doing my long scrape here. I'm doing it pretty quickly because, frankly, I have demonstrated all of these skills in a million other videos. I just haven't made it really clear, I think, that this is what I'm doing. So here's day 1. I just long scraped. I'm going to clip it open. If I've done my job well, my long scrape job well, I might have a beep already. And yeah, it takes a little effort, but it's in there. And from there, I construct the reed. Again, you've seen me do this a million times. I'm going to scoop and curl, and then pet the kitty to get my tip constructed. And obviously, this is not the only way to do it. You can construct your tip in any of a million different ways. I like mine because it's efficient, but it is also dangerous. This is feeling super dry, so I'm going to dip it again, but I didn't say it, I think, but this blank had been soaking for a couple of minutes before I started scraping. Then I'm just going to take the windows out a little bit so that this looks a little more like a reed. And I'll scrape, I'll polish across the heart very gently. And at this point, hopefully, I have a beep, which I just find by putting the reed in playing position in my mouth and using the tiniest amount of air possible. It just tells me whether I've got response happening in the reed, and it crows. It happens that that's a pretty good crow, but I wouldn't care if it wasn't. It could be a real floppy crow, it could be real loose, it could be nasty in any number of ways, and I would still accept this as a day one read because all my day one read has to do is beep and crow. I expect that this reed is still 72 millimeters long. I like the fact that it crows nicely is a happy bonus, but it doesn't matter even a little bit. I'm going to put this away. I'm going to leave it alone overnight. And tomorrow, or 2 weeks from now here on my channel, I'll come back and do a day 2 scrape. I hope that this was helpful. My main goal in my batch processing is just to not get emotionally attached to any one read. And honestly, if I can do in a minute and a half or 2 minutes what I just did, there's no time for emotional attachment. And I think that's great because there's plenty of time to care about the individuality of the reeds later in the process. Day 1, I scrape it, I make it look like a reed, I make it beep and crow, and I stop. I hope this has been helpful. This has been a 5-minute Reedmaker lesson. If you want to follow these short videos right here on YouTube, you can certainly subscribe. I hope you will. And if you need to reach me to order reeds or cane, to ask a question that I could answer in a future 5-minute Reedmaker video, to get a copy of my book, you could find me at jennetingle.com. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.